secured for Jinair. I wonder what theory Longzhu will take with their bans in the second round, because when it comes to picks against Jax, a lot of things can do well on paper, and yet he can run away lanes with Snowball. So approaching a path against Jax can be interesting. You can just sort of ban away Jarvan and not want to deal with someone who can team fight better than Jax in any scenario.
Well, for now, it's going to be the Blitzcrank, targeted out onto Gorilla. Get rid of him, so no hooks available for him. And then the Lucian yet again, despite the fact that the Galio is banned away. You kind of talked about it, decent blind pick into that mid lane, so let's just go ahead and take that away from Kuzan.
I think with Sejuani, Jax, Longzhu don't want to blind pick Lucian, so they don't want to leave it open as an answering or a blind pick for Jinair Greenwing, so it would have just been too overloaded on physical damage on the blue side, so they decide no one's getting a hold of Lucian as Rye Smile from Gorilla, trying to work out which engage support he's going to be pairing with the Kalista.
I feel like maybe we just see another LeBlanc ban by Longzhu here.
Definitely a possibility, given that LeBlanc has been banned a lot against Faker recently. Such a much bigger pick in other regions in Korea, but a staple of Kuzan's champion pool. So good call. In the same spot in both drafts, we have the LeBlanc banned.
Just don't want to give him that comfort if he wanted to, blind pick it here and allow for a counter pick in the top lane. So just go ahead, ban that one away.
Mid lane counter pick seems to be the higher priority for Jinair. Cho'Gath would represent most likely a top laner, but of course could be flexed to mid as recently as in the LPL today. Icon was playing in the mid lane, has been situationally a counter pick there.
This is true.
So some ambiguity, and Kuzan does strike me as one of those mid lane Cho'Gath players.
I mean, it could also be in the jungle if the Gragas goes top.
You're right.
There's a lot of flexibility here for Jinair. In the meantime, Longzhu maybe looking for the Braum. This is one that was banned away by Jinair,
but Taric.
Okay, instead we will flip over to the Taric.
Taric with Ardent Sensor, no doubt incoming here, as the mid lane is going to be the blind pick given all those ramifications. And it's going to be the Taliyah return from BDD. These are his two most played players. The Galio in Game 2, and now the Taliyah in Game 3. 8-3 in LCK history on the Taliyah, but 8-2 over the course of summer season.
We won't talk about that one other loss.
Oh, no. That was on a different org.
I don't even know what team he was playing.
Well, Jinair seemed to be settling on it being no Cho'Gath mid lane. Single tier rolls down your cheek. It's going to be the Corki as the answer to Taliyah. Very common matchup we saw all throughout Rift Rivals 2017.
But where does the Gragas and this Cho'Gath go is going to be the question. Let's see, 20 seconds where they will go ahead and wind up with these picks.
I would imagine Cho'Gath is going to be top lane, but I'm not 100% clear on that.
I would like to see that. That is what I think would be the more interesting matchup here. 6 seconds remaining. They haven't flipped anything yet.
Maybe just going to be the Gragas. So my first instinct was wrong. It's going to be Gragas top lane, which strikes me as the sort of matchup. There's going to be a lot of latitude for Jax to pick up a lot of CS. And Longzhu, if they can actually get a level 1 going and ward up for the Jax, they have traditionally been very strong at playing around Khan's split push pressure. First time this series that Khan is actually empowered to play the side lanes. He was very much on team fighting duty in Game 1 and 2.
I mean, you think about, Afrika in Game 1 versus Samsung earlier today, Tristana and the Cho'Gath. There was no opening for that Cho'Gath for Spirit to make it in for the ganks because the Tristana was contained under the turret, couldn't control the wave. So could be similar troubles here for Umti unless he can get out to a lead, because the mid lane is not going to have any CC whatsoever, so might just have to rely on Gragas up top. But all right, this is it, guys. The final game of this series that has delivered a bit more than we thought it would. Let's go ahead and load in.
Got to be on the ball with the roll.
Yeah, Castrogen, he wants to get out of here. So he's just throwing it straight into the game, so.
The crowd on both sides are throwing their lungs into cheers for Longzhu and Jinair. Remember that, sure, Longzhu are on the trail for first spot, which may not be decided by the match victory in this particular game. But Jinair are also fighting for 5th spot. If they move to 8 match wins, they will match the record of Afrika Freaks. They have an inferior game score, so they will be behind, as another Prey fan is in the audience.
There's plenty of those. Well, it might not be a cowbell, but got some speakers.
So Jin Air winning, they will be behind a couple of games behind Afrika, but not matches. So they will be able to potentially unseat Afrika Freaks and make that late charge into 5th spot. So for both teams, a lot on the line. So we approach the draft and work out what to make of it. It's not going to be a very powerful Kalista duo lane in terms of the laning phase. Tarek's only harass is the Dazzle. It's going to Ignite for a bit more lane pressure and lane priority, but bigger story here is that BDD is the only one who in the early game will have any semblance of a pushing advantage. It's never going to be that stark over a Corki mid lane. Late invade coming through from Longzhu, but they are spotted.
It's wrapping around, throw down the ward, so they're going to spot this red buff start. They see how many people are there. Go ahead and look for these Raptors.
Only just a single one stolen away by Khan.
Worth it all.
Risky.
Yeah, Khan going a bit balls to the wall here. There is that smite available for MT, so he's just going to go ahead and peel back. MT will kill this and continue on his merry way.
Clear is very, very sustained from the Cho'Gath. Like you mentioned, we saw the other side of Cho'Gath from Spirit in Game 1, where didn't have power in lanes to make things happen. Thresh can certainly make things happen in bot lane, as they're already brawling.
Yep, Dazzle connects onto Teddy, but he's got that satchel charge to go ahead and try to fight back.
In team fights, the Cosmic Radiance is going to be the key ability of this game. I mentioned it during the MVP series yesterday, but during these tanky battles, it really does feel like Tarek has the ultimate go button. Cosmic Radiance, when well-timed, means that even true damage from Umti will not even register. And if Khan is split pushing, the timing of the Cosmic Radiance, whether it denies, say, a 5v4 attempt from Jin Air, who do have the Gragas potentially teleporting in for Wombo engage, could be the difference between the 4 holding true or the 4 going down. Because the moment you have Gragas into Jax, you've kind of admitted as Jin Air that Jax is going to get basically free farm.
Yeah. Already taking a bit of an early lead there as he's going to take the blast cone over the wall for a little bit of a ride. So on does have the lane pushing at the moment with that barrel going off. So this could be a very early gank here from the side of the Sejuani. So ward thrown down over the wall would be spotted, but is it enough of a reaction time?
I mean, Longzhu, vertical jungling has basically happened given the Sejuani's top side, so Khan is free to do whatever he wants in this lane against the Gragas.
He's going to get spotted now. Just comes wrapping around, looking for the stun. Flashes in for it. So on has his own flash. I'll just go ahead and flash away from the Arctic Assault.
Yep,
they get a little bit of damage in. Passive will proc, but can they kill him off? The answer is going to be no. And now they could be looking to turn things around as Kuzan will cancel the TP.
He was just hanging back. No purchase yet from Kuzan, and mid lane Corki often can get a pretty big tempo advantage in CS doing that, as Khan finds So1 by teleporting back into lane, but that's been denied by Kuzan having to relieve pressure from his top lane.
Oh, anti-climactic.
That was kind of the subtext of Series 2, you have to say, for Game 2 at least.
I mean, it got pretty exciting on the turnaround, you know.
Well, this time we have Weaver's Wall, Fate's Call, Dazzle, and Sejuani, so Engage has certainly been beefed up for Longzhu.
MT right now, sitting here in the mid lane. Gonna be looking for BDD, but he's already cheating his way to the opposite side of the lane. Because in the meantime, coming back over the wall, looking for So1, knows that the flash is down, but the stun's not going to register this time out. Should still be able to get the passive. Will get locked in. So1 will fall. First blood goes over to Khan.
Yeah. Extra marks for persistence coming through from Cuz. It's a lot of power farm Sejuani jungles, Ambition in particular. But it's actually just the focus on the top lane that Longzhu was setting up for by Cuz, taking the Krugs early and pathing around top lane multiple times. Game 1 we mentioned, stay away from Khan. He's on the Rumble. He's on the Jarvan. Game 2, same story, on the Rumble. Just allow him to be pushed in. He'll get his items. He'll be relevant. It's a very much different story when it's the Jax. And you notice Cuz's jungle pathing adjusts accordingly.
You know, it's as they say, if at first you do not succeed, then gank again, that flashless Gragas.
A famous adage.
Yes, that is a direct quote.
Inscribed in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting language choice there.
I was joking. Like Latin probably would have been...
Both, actually. They were trying to be really inclusive.
Okay. You know, just So multiple peoples and cultures could read it. Well, Guz,
He's having a gank party today.
he's not done yet. Blast going over the wall.
Turret can apply the melee auto attacks very fast with the passive 100% attack speed. So you get that first hit from the Sejuani, and then it's basically a CC train from the Dazzle and also the Permafrost.
Well, decides not to go in for the gank. Just too much safety there for Teddy and Snowflower. With the leap in the Dark Passage.
Bit of a headache here already in the top lane.
I'd say it's a migraine.
Reason why I was thinking about the Cho'Gath top is that he can push waves fast, which a Gragas can do too. But also, the Jack's ultimate resistance is nothing to true damage, so you get any sort of gank assistance, the Nom will largely be able to take down the Jack, so honestly doesn't build a lot of health with a lot of the recent builds that have been Blade the Ruin King focused instead of going for something like the Titanic Hydra. Gragas was the selection from Jin Air, and the end result has been that free farm we spoke about. He has first roam and also some wards to play around on bot side.
And he's level 7. But it seems like doesn't want to go for any sort of gank until perhaps Prey is level 6 for the Fate's Call for just extra lockdown.
Seems like Gorilla and Prey don't subscribe to the heal on the Taric, cleanse on the Callista strategy that MVP was enjoying earlier this week. Pretty low value cleanse this game, so
yeah,
maybe not as much of a factor.
Khan will find himself in a bit of a party here up top, but the wave is pushing in, so it seems like MT maybe not going to be able to gain much ground.
Would have to be a pretty long camp, you'd imagine.
That or a dive, which doesn't seem like a great idea.
No. Flash not up for Khan, so that's one thing in the win column. Or this gank success
nearly
happening.
There. It's about to come back up. Could knock him out with the explosive cask.
If he uses his leap strike, that's the time to go in.
Oh, well, he's going to check the brush. Body slam coming in. Has the double stun. Gets popped over to the side. Can he make it out? Flashes away. Rupture not going to clip him. Wouldn't have killed him either way. Had the ultimate still running. Khan does make it out, but basically as soon as that flash comes up, he has to use it, but he at least trades for MTs.
Oh, the face check. He was so close to going down anyway. Early feast coming through from Umti just to ensure they knew exactly how much damage they needed to take down the Jacks. But the boots too, and the flash coming up very fortuitously was just enough for Khan to live. He will have to complete the back. He doesn't have teleport yet. No flash availability for Khan this game.
Yeah, just keeps having to use that one, as it turns out. But still, it's going to be Longzhu in a pretty decent spot, up by about 1,000 gold at the moment. And the Jax does have that sheen, so the damage is going to be pretty nice in the exchanges here between he and so on.
The pathing from Umti has not been as free as the pathing was for Cuz in Game 2 to amplify the lead for the Tristana, who already does very well against the Callista, as we have said many times already, with the advent of that becoming a very common matchup in the LCK, instead being largely trying to bail out the Gragas, which doesn't necessarily strike me as a solution, given that it only really gets worse as the items roll in for the Jax when it comes to the Gragas matchup. Interesting to see where Gragas goes, as Righteous Glory could be an item build for sure. Could also be something like the Bramble Vest to start to cut down the regen, admittedly not very much from Khan.
Well, ow. Kuzan takes quite a bit of damage, with more coming through, and forces to use the Valkyrie behind the minion wave, just to stop from getting chipped out.
Forcing 100 mana out of a Corki is also not completely irrelevant either.
Doesn't have a whole lot of that to go around. I think Assault coming through. Prison's not going to connect, so it'll be okay. Kuzan still holding on to the flash, but mid lane turret does take quite a bit of damage.
Ult was already used by So On in the top. That's what got Khan low. I imagine he would have taken a turret shot in that trade. Very low regen build. Flask is pretty common on Jax's, but just went for Doran's shield in this game, maybe predicting the turret dives and other plays. Having extra health will certainly help against the Cho'Gath in particular. Top lane party returns, but this time everyone's invited to kill, yes?
This is true. It's not just going to be an exclusive one.
What is it with Cho'Gath's waiting for action to happen today?
I don't know. Throws down another ward.
Health lead for So On means that Umti should be able to clear out the control ward here. not smart for the contest, even though BDD would have been able to rotate first with the Weaver's Wall. Teleport there for Kuzan as well, so no outnumbering potential.
Look at that teamwork, both Dazzles connecting.
Even more difficult to track the Dazzle, given that you have the leap distance as well to factor in.
Well, they got it down, but not a whole lot of punish coming off the backside of that. Teddy at the moment keeping up pretty well in CS, just down by 6 at the moment.
But honestly, Tristana usually has an advantage in the Kalista lane, so keeping up is not ideal. Being competitive CS, but not really being able to push the lane in like you'd want to, or get free damage onto the enemy turret. This lane has gone better than expected, and a lot of that is the excellent play from Longzhu around top side, and being there to, like I've said a couple of times, bail out so on, rather than being able to focus on other lanes.
See, I just sort of naturally think about that sort of situation. It's like, well, he's keeping up with Prey. That's really good. And then you factor in the actual champion matchup.
And Teddy is pretty good also.
Oh, yes.
On that side
Not
of the
to discredit Teddy, but Prey is Prey.
If we are going to level a small criticism at Teddy, as he has been run over against some of the real stars of the league, like Ruler, Bang in the first round robin. And you could see it against Prey, as he's still trying to adjust to being a true star of his own right. Love to see Teddy get a full year under his belt as we're close to the end of the summer season. So much promise, you'll remember, in the Kesper Cup last year, and then squandered a lot with the struggles of Jin Air in spring, even if Teddy himself looked great. And he definitely settled for a summer where, sure, he wasn't by far the best player on his team, but his team leveling up around him has allowed him to be a relevant factor in the whole league.
Oh boy, collapse coming through. They find Empty. They lock him down. Multiple tools being used. Dazzle in the Glacial Prison. He will fall. Unfortunately, Gorilla gets the kill, but they still pick off the enemy jungler, so I think they're going to be feeling pretty good about that.
Would mean they could turn onto the Drake, as long as you haven't put that much priority in Drakes, but it's once again one of these low-value Drakes, just a Cloud Drake to open things up. Hooray. You didn't sound very serious in your shout of hooray.
I'm ecstatic.
I can tell from your tone of voice.
This is my happy voice.
You sound like someone who got their tax back.
Yep.
Hooray.
Pretty much. Except I got a refund.
Nice! Not today. That was actually a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. Turns out tax season is done right now.
I'm happy. One more year without having to think about tax season.
Yep.
This is not a problem for most of our viewers. I don't think our viewership is thinking about taxes that much.
I'll just wait till you get older. You're gonna hate it.
It gets better for a bit, then it gets worse again.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, hey, you know what? I made a pretty decent amount of money this year, and then you realize, oh wait, I have to pay it all to the government.
It's one of those really feeling older moments when you have to wrap your head around your bills and your incomings and outgoings. Learning the real value of things.
Yeah, that's about when you realize that being an adult, there are aspects that suck.
Well, you're more recent at being an adult than me, so I gotta admit, what was one of your biggest surprises when it came to jumping from, being in a sharing house situation to like kind of really being the architect of your own future? Because to me, it's when I went to buy furniture for the first time and learned how much a couch costs. I was like, oh, couches cost a lot.
Yeah,
furnishing a house is real expensive.
They are. But I'm trying to think.
Paying bills, a famous one. Tax, for example.
Yeah, any kind of bill, something like that. Probably car insurance.
Oh.
When I had to have my own car insurance. That kind of was bad.
Hard time coming here because Corki was taking time to get back lane. It's actually Gragas teleporting
finish this one off in time, and we'll go down here. So first brick over to Longzhu, but see how long they want to stick in the fight. All of Jin Air joining in. Arriving just a little bit too late to the party to turn things around for them.
And a consequential one, because mid lane outer turret going down against a champion with a global, or semi-global in the Weaver's Wall. Usually can spill over to other lanes. A nice rotation from Longzhu, and Jin Air caught napping a little bit. Kuzan and So On not wanting to use teleport, and then So On basically wasting his. Not that Khan will be doing too much team fighting, you'd imagine.
Oh, for the wraparound now.
Not spotted yet.
Yeah, turret still has
It's
plenty
Cosmic
of HP,
Radiance time.
Yeah, that's going to be the Cosmic Radiance coming down. The Dazzle connects. They knock him to the side, and he is going to fall as Gorilla finds his second kill of the game, and now they're just going to go ahead and take out the turret as well.
And this is another one of those moments where Longzhu can turn one advantage into two in basically an instant. Cosmic Radiance has been the go button for turret dives
They're looking for
ever since it was rotated, and yeah. So1 and Umti decide to group to push down a turret and answer. This is not an answer, this is another question raised by Longzhu.
The only one that can clear out the wave right now would be So1 with the explosive cask, but he's just trading for the tier 1 in the top lane. They'll lose out on that turret. It's 3-1 now, that advantage here for the side of Longzhu. And they're just going to keep on moving. 4K in the lead at 16 minutes. Herald will be started by Jin.
But the Wall of the Rift Herald would represent more than, say, a inner side lane turret. It might represent mid lane turret, but even making that happen is going to be difficult without any sort of vision. So Jin will pick up the Rift Herald unanswered. You'll notice that Longzhu are going to reinforce the top side of the map. Kalista and Taric heading there already. Big gold lead to Longzhu from the objectives they picked up, but they have the kill lead as well.
All right, well, getting things started. Here is Longzhu. Bit of a faster paced game, you'd have to say, compared to game number 2. So this is looking a little bit more reminiscent of game 1.
Iceborne Gauntlet first from So1. We haven't seen Iceborne Gauntlet almost at all since Righteous Glory was changed and became the team fight armor and health item du jour.
Yeah. And pretty big split priority here as well from Khan as far as his items are concerned. Went for the Bilgewater Cutlass and then the Stinger. So likely going to be the Triforce, but I guess wanted a little bit of sustain. Lifesteal in the lane.
It's not going to be about the active, like you say. It's cost-effective lifesteal and does completely betray what his 2-item build will be, because it's not going to be Titanic Hydra at this rate. That would be too much thrift shopping.
Yeah.
If you added a Tiamat to your list.
It just hits a point where you're actually causing problems for yourself.
I mean, gold completion often gives you the passives that have a lot of gold in them, even if it doesn't give you immediate stats, so you're not getting the most bang out of your buck, that's for sure.
Snowflower spotted out by that control ward, because it's just going to go ahead and clear this vision out. So do we see another early Baron attempt from Longzhu, like we've seen in both games, pretty much?
Well, Weaver's Wall is a bigger insurance tool than what Longzhu has had access to before, so I think that's very possible.
Seismic Shove does not connect, and Kuzan has the flash away from Khan in time.
Might have been one rotation if everything landed there from BDD.
Yeah, one more hit, I think, and he probably would have gone down, because even the Jax at this point, it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage.
Jin have a lot of early word about what Longzhu want to do. The moment you see Sejuani cutting through your jungle and the duo lane and top, you know that top lane outer turret and Baron is on the menu, and here's the first of that too.
I mean, this is mostly going to be for the turret, you'd have to think, because of
Prey's
the
not
escape
interested.
tools there from Jin. So yeah, Prey just going to go ahead and keep hammering away at this turret. They'll run out of minions, but Gorilla is perfectly willing to go ahead and take this one up for his squad. The Dazzle not going to connect, but the Glacial Prison does. The arrival of Umti and Kuzan. They'll go ahead and say, okay, you know what? We're happy with the turret. That's the last outer. We have a pretty substantial lead.
Probably wasn't incomplete information there. So1 was about 5 seconds away from TP, and Longzhu knew that Khan didn't have his TP, so the right move to pull out there, because it could have been 5 top lane, and Longzhu knew they wouldn't have a chance to answer. They got the objective they came for. Next visit will be to cement what is already 3 control wards around Baron. Seems like you didn't even need to raise the question, Gilios.
That's true. They answered it for me with their preparation. Maybe they'll pay a visit to this Ocean Drake that just spawned up first. As Prey is already down on this bottom side of the map, as is Cuz, so could just go ahead and pick that one up to have that second Drake.
That would be kind of weird. They put so many control wards around Baron and then abandon them all to start a Drake. They may react to a Drake start by Jin, but Baron spawning in 15.
It's fine. They don't expire. Just leave them as long as you want. Seismic Shove. Not going to connect as Kuzan is forced
Rift
to
Herald
use the package.
spotted in bot lane just to try and break the outer bot lane turret.
Well, but yet again, they're going to be trading a tier 1 for a tier 2. Prey finishes that one off. Petty going to get popped into the Seismic Shove, and he gets deleted as Khan scoops up the kill. The Rift Herald is... Yeah, the Rift Herald is still not at the turret, by the way. It's just sitting there getting damaged.
I can tell you where Longzhu's going to be at.
Oh, yeah. They're going straight over for this Baron. Yet again, 20 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock.
Cuz or solo zoning as the start of the Baron begins. Doesn't even need to be in the pit because he can use the Ren to secure. Is the hard commitment from Longzhu.
We'll be seeing him, you'd have to expect, but actually whiffs on the Glacial Prison. Can he get the devour? It's not happening. He takes it away with the face. Umpty just finds that the rent, the insurance policy does not pay off. They do answer for 2 kills, getting rid of 2 of those buffs. We'll go ahead and make it 3 as BDD almost goes down. But Longshu, they had everything. They have the rend ready to go. They have Cuz in the pit. And Umpty still comes up with the steal.
They had everything except a plan to actually stop Umpty from getting over. Didn't use the weave as well. Didn't really invest too much thought into it. Thought that Rend would out-damage Feast, but Feast is already around 1,300 Achilles. Far too much of a risk. Longzhu have been so good at picking up Baron buffs and playing smart around objectives that we have to be surprised. And I think enemy teams, the 2 teams they're facing next week, Samsung and KT, will look at that and think, okay, maybe there actually is some holes in the Longzhu game plan.
Yeah,
watch the replay.
Now break in the armor.
They don't have vision over the wall, so they don't know where Cho'Gath is at. But come on, you don't need to be too surprised.
Oh, they ran like at the exact same time, but Beast just comes out on top.
I don't think it's an excuse that you didn't have vision on Cho'Gath and could have known it was coming, because where else was Cho'Gath going to be?
Oh, I agree, because they try to open things up with the Glacial Prison, and it just whiffs completely off to the side because they don't have vision over the wall. So, very sloppy by Longzhu. They pretty much had it. They had it dead to rights, and then they just kind of handed it away.
My impression is that the person who made the biggest mistake in that area was Cuz, because he dashed back over when he saw the enemies coming. So he was the one who could have granted them vision of Cho'Gath and given them more information. Instead, he wasn't really needed for secure. Clearly, Longzhu was not going to peel off the Baron. They had hard committed onto it. But you need to know where Cho'Gath is. Cho'Gath warps the game with Feast's insane amount of true damage early. And that was actually a mistake at playing around one of the new champions in 7-14.
It's the
new old champions, obviously.
Yeah. New old champions. He's had a couple changes, some tweaks.
He's better.
He is. The active E is quite good. You know, and that's one of the reasons why we thought maybe it was going to be a top lane Cho'Gath, was Soan's been playing this in his solo queue with Trinity Force on that Cho'Gath. So it's interesting. Maybe we'll see that down the line. But for now, Longzhu still will have a pretty commanding lead here in the game. Only a couple of those Baron buffs survive from the side of Jin Air, and the gold is very much in favor of Longzhu as they've just taken so many turrets.
It definitely wasn't a Baron to decide the game, but a Baron for Longzhu.
To elongate the game.
Certainly. And we've had one of those already in Game 2 that will have a bit of PTSD for Longzhu fans after Prey was caught. A Tristana was caught and a Baron was taken, but not in the same order as Game 2.
I mean, the thing that Longzhu fans can breathe easy about is the amount of chain CC that Jin Air has at the moment isn't that great.
And Jax
Hook play knock-up is pretty much it.
And Jax has all the gold. Jax is fed.
Yeah.
And farmed.
Yeah, he's 4-0-2. He's got both of his core items.
You need reinforcements to take down the champ in this game.
Well, Teddy crit's pretty hard.
The build is meant for single target, whereas Prey is predictably looking for his Ren sets. Jax has no coverage on the bot side, so you actually see him just picking up the Krugs. Maybe he's got some gold he's sitting on, because he's going back right now. Guardian Angel would be a teamfight choice here, and it's going to instead be a movement towards the Titanic Hydra, or maybe even the Frozen Mallet from Khan. We saw that experimented with earlier. I think it was last week we saw a Frozen Mallet Jax. Must admit I'm not a huge fan of it, but health is very useful against Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, you can never escape. You're a bit tankier. So I guess I understand it, but it's not, doesn't feel like current meta.
It's not inspiring.
Yeah. Frozen Mallet hasn't been a thing for a while.
Hey, Nara disagrees.
Even then, we don't really see the Nars build it too often.
It's because they get...
Earlier today, we saw just a Black Cleaver.
We do see a lot of double buffs going against Nars, and Nars having bigger problems than building for lane, but I think it's still the staple I want to crush lane build for Nars.
Sure. Which you would have expected from Marin. But instead, he just died a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of been the actual story of Marin's Nara this season.
He walked in and just got deleted, so... Wasn't a good look. So, I mean, Jin Air, especially watching that series, should feel pretty good about their chances in playoffs if they can go ahead and find that 5th place spot.
They would be taking a gigantic step forward to doing if they would take down Longzhu in surprise fashion in this game. Certainly a game that's not written anymore. We thought game 2 was largely inked to be a standard Longzhu victory, and Prey being caught. Jin lapped up that opportunity and were able to win the game. This time Longzhu have engaged. This time Longzhu have options.
Oh, well, they're not going to find the dazzle.
Actually grouping with their Jax, so Jax not playing side lane.
Well, he's going back over that way.
Jax on top side suggests to me that Longzhu want to spend the next minute and a half setting up for a safer Baron than the last time.
Maybe this time with some vision over the wall.
You know, that's an opportunity. That's something they can think about.
Oh, dear. That's going to be a fun part of the VOD review.
They have double warding trinket and also some control wards in the inventory, so it can't be worse than last time, you'd imagine.
I would hope. I can imagine it. It hurts, but I can.
Here's the last shopping trip before Baron for Prey and Gorilla. More Malmortius going to be the next item for a bit more team fighting, trying to ignore one of those magic damage crits we know about.
Trying to keep himself alive. Again, gone are the days of the Sterix Gage Callista, thankfully.
Sejuani didn't have backups, didn't want to use her sweeper without anyone in the area holding on to that cooldown, and Tarek will have his up as well. Looking for Longzhu to have a much more ordered play around Baron, unless they can pick up a pick and then just try to rush it down.
Well, it's available here in 5 seconds. Cloud Drake on the board, but, well, you know, it's Baron, so everybody wants this.
No control ward on the Baron, though.
This is true. They have one in the vicinity up near the Krug Brush. So not going to be getting them a whole lot. They have one down in the pit now. As I can spot that one out on the mini-map.
I'll say that Longzhu are too dogged in holding on to things like Dorans and Dark Seals instead of buying control wards to take down objectives that will probably win them the game.
Okay, well right now, just kind of playing towards this bottom half. They have the majority of the team waiting in the river, or in the mid lane rather. Keeping tabs on Jin Air's members as Khan just goes ahead and solos this one out.
Sort of thing that other teams haven't been able to punish because of how much snowballs happen in Longzhu games, but now with the benefit of a longer series, we have been able to note that weakness in the Vision game. It's relying too much on Gorilla and the Rek'Sai also in game 2. 7-0 in kill score. I mean, so the kill score certainly tells one story, and the gold does as well. And yet, after the Baron kerfuffle, we're still not sure.
Yeah, so how do they want to approach this one? At the moment, it's going to be Khan splitting into the bottom lane, where there is not that inner turret. Instead, they're going to find an engagement here onto Cuz, but he is insanely tanky as a Sejuani, so instead he's just going to force the flash from Snowflower.
Release pressure, no Thresh engage going to come through. They didn't have to use any resources Longzhu to make that happen, except from shifting the Bastion onto the Sejuani, looking for a dazzle there from Gorilla with the chain link. They're walking in. There's only 2 here.
Yeah, almost found Kuzan there, but the dazzle's not going to connect. Didn't quite have the right angle. So now just looking to take away the red buff. We'll be able to do so with that Ren. Do they want to stick into this one? Glacial Prison comes down, but they're not going to find the lockup. Gorilla goes forward, finds one with the dazzle. In the meantime, Snowflower has been taken out.
BD.
Now they're going to be pushing forward here.
Nice
but
Buster shot.
Yeah, Buster shot just goes ahead, knocks them back. So keeps Teddy safe, but that's both of his summoner spells down his ultimate. And Longzhu, they're all going to take a ride.
So this time they don't.
BDD
flash.
doesn't make it.
BDD doesn't make it, but maybe he can just zone away the Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath does not have flash this time, so should not be allowed in the pit. But for now, they still have no vision over the wall, and somehow Cho'Gath's going to walk up.
He's been spotted. It's going low. Can he make his way in there? They're just all going to turn and target him. The Ren comes down, and it's going to be BDD able to go ahead and pick up that Baron. Now, So-On desperately using that explosive cast knock Khan to the side. Will make it out with his life, but Baron buff does go over to Longzhu.
But that was sloppy again, Achilles. Rocket over the wall almost took it blind on the backside because, again, they didn't have vision because they don't have control wards. Because for some reason they need Dark Sphere, Ruby Crystal, Doran's Blade at 30 minutes into the game. Longzhu are still giving lifelines to Jin Air, and even if they win this series, they really didn't need to make some serious adjustments to their vision game.
Yeah. I mean, Prey rending to kill Cho'Gath as opposed to saving it for the Baron for that possible steal is just not a great way to approach that take on the Baron buff, but
especially because to do that, he turned off, put damage into the Cho'Gath, still rendered the Baron, and Baron was sitting there at 400 HP, up for grabs.
Yep, just asking for a rocket to go ahead and hit him in the face. We've seen people steal him plenty of times with the Corki rockets.
Was the frozen mallet for the Jax, the health ball helping him from dying instantly in a situation like this.
It's a stun, but can he make it out? Nice leap strike there. We'll take him away from that body slam. Keep him relatively safe, and now Janair is in full panic mode as they try to hold on to the base. VD is going to go ahead, continue split pushing up in the top lane. Will knock down that final inner turret. Now it's going to be these inhibitors under siege. Just about 12,000 gold in the lead is Longshu. And even then, they're still playing a little bit measured here.
Not rotating as 5, just under the turret. This guy's going to have to dash away.
Some bit of damage, but Khan is going to go ahead and knock down this bottom inhib turret. So now that one's going to be exposed. Mid lane going to be following shortly thereafter. They're looking for the kill in onto the Jax. He gets popped away, and that's going to be enough distance for him to get out safely. Has the Baron empowered recall and the TP to rejoin.
Yeah, no punishment there because he's able to flash like you say. BD turning onto Kuzan, not getting the kill, but they'll get the turret.
He's just going to go straight back into the bottom lane, try to knock down that inhib. So all 3 turrets now falling, all 3 inhibitors exposed, and Longshu will be trying to finish this one off considerably cleaner than game 2, cleaner than game 1 as well. So a nice high note to finish out this series with. Cosmic Radiance coming down. They go ahead and deny all that damage coming through. Someone's going to get jumped on. He's just going to disappear. Prey rending him to death, now looking for a little bit more. Go ahead and get a little bit of damage in, but it's not going to be enough. As Prey just keeps firing away, and everybody on the side of Janair disappears. And just like that, double kill here for Prey at the end. They will finish off these Nexus turrets. They'll finish it off 14-0 for Longshu. They close out this series 2-1.
And 14-0 is certainly a clean kill score, but the game was not as clean as Longshu fans would like. The sort of game where watching it, you saw gaps from the side of Longshu that you hadn't necessarily seen in previous games, and that is going to be a bit of a query. Their dogged resistance from getting enough vision around Baron was almost punished in 2 straight games. Game 2, they were taken down by a pick on Prey, but vision around Baron was Cho'Gath's earlier steal, and this time Cho'Gath didn't have flash. So sure, the chances were lower, and yet you have to ask the question, why not a bit more reinforcement? Why not a bit more tight play around Baron? Longshu are no longer being scrutinized about it as a team with young players and a team with characters that we know and love. They're being scrutinized as a team that may actually be the champions of LCK Summer, so you have to adjust your expectations. And when it came to the vision game, they did let us down a little bit in game 3.
Yeah, and just the general approaches to those Barons, not investing everything that they had into confirming it, but going for the kills, greedily using that rend on the side of Prey. We'll go ahead and get a replay of the end of the game here.
Cosmic Radiance was armed as the Permafrost was onto the Gragas, so they're always going to pick up 1 kill, but right at the end,
Fate's Call in to get the pop-up.
And it all stacks up. Watch for the seismic shove here coming through when the Weaver's Wall was in, and the Minefield as well. My goodness, the E there ripped through them as well. Nice, clean stuff, and again, the kill score, 1